Apparently Senator Collins has run into some difficulty and has not been able to get over at the time we discussed last night. Due to the fact that we're required under the Constitution to go into the nomination of officers at 2 p.m., deem it appropriate at this time to call on at least one committee that's ready to report, try to get rid of a few of the resolutions prior to that time. In the event the senator shows for the convention, we'll try to allow him the courtesy of addressing the convention where he can leave if this meets the approval of the convention. This will mean that if we're in the process of nominating officers, it'll be necessary to suspend this matter for a few minutes till he makes his address and leaves. Now, is there any objections to handling the situation in this fashion? Not, then Brother Bob Starnes will be presiding at the nomination of officers, and I would suggest, Bob, that in the event the senator shows that at that point we suspend the nomination of officers, afford him the courtesy of the floor and let him leave. In the event we are finished, of course, we'll be in good shape. At this time, I'd like to call on the chairman of the Legislative Committee, Vice President Jim Clark. Brother Clark.
Would you look in your kits and get resolution number 7? Resolution number 7, submitted by the Executive Board. Whereas a program of progress was adopted by the Mississippi Labor Council, AFL-CIO, at a special convention in Jackson, Mississippi on July the 13th and 14th, 1961. This program was designed to not only raise the necessary finances to advance the labor's cause in Mississippi, but spelled out in detail a comprehensive legislative program as well. Whereas this legislative program, covering a total of 18 different areas, is truly a legislative program of progress for all Mississippians. A study of this 18-point program, which is listed below, should convince even the most skeptical that labor's aims and objectives are honorable and of high merit. 1. Establish a State Department of Labor. 2. Reapportion state legislature. 3. Increase workmen's compensation. 4. Provide state guaranteed loans for college education to qualified high school graduates. 5. Increase unemployment insurance. 6. Revise Mississippi tax laws. 7. Enact state Davis-Bacon prevailing wage law. 8. Change primary elections from Tuesdays to Saturdays. 9. Enact temporary disability insurance law. 10. Raise salaries of Mississippi school teachers up to average for southern states. 11. Enact comprehensive child labor laws. 12. Enact state civil service law to cover all state employees. 13. Qualify women as jurors on an equal basis with men. 14. Increase maximum amounts of assistance to the aged and to the permanently and totally disabled. 15. Amend state constitution to provide initiative referendum procedures. 16. Enact State Fair Labor Standards Act. 17. Amend state constitution to eliminate poll tax payments as requirement to qualify to vote. 18, enact law requiring equal pay to women for work equal to that done by men. Whereas the anti-labor forces have been more than successful in several areas of our state in their efforts to portray our movement as something to be feared or despised. This success can be attributed to a large degree to the fact that many people simply do not know what our objectives are and as a result have been misled. Properly publicized, our 18-point legislative program would do much to eliminate this unfortunate situation. Instead of enemies, many of these people would become our friends. Therefore, be it resolved that the delegates assembled in this regular convention do reaffirm the program of progress, including the 18-point legislative program, and will work towards its implementation, and be it further resolved that the officers of the council, finances permitting, be instructed to have printed a booklet containing a detailed explanation of each point of this legislative program. Sufficient copies of this booklet to be printed whereby it can be widely distributed to all segments and groups within our state's boundaries. Mr. Chairman, the committee concurs in this resolution and I move its adoption.
Do I have a second? Heard the committee's report, the motion to adopt the resolution. Do we have any discussion? You ready for the question? All in favor of the motion signify it by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried and so ordered. Which one you take up now? The next one will be 14. Resolution number 14, next.
No 14. Is it anyone else done? Will the sergeant at arms pass out copies of number 14? I'll take up number 18. Then. I can go ahead with it. 14's not here.
Take up 18. He's got 18. Don't have 18.
What about 19?
Don't have 19. Where's the sergeant at arms at? Where's Brother Bryant? Here he comes. Which one have you got now, Ray? 14. 14? When we get 14 out, then we'll take up 14.
Frankly, the size of this resolution, it looks like it's 4 minutes. That's the longest one.
We don't have time enough to take that one. But which is a short one? Which is a short one?
If they're getting out 18, 18 is the shortest.
What we better do here, we'll be right on time, is to get the chairman of the Corrections Committee and get the final report of the next one. This is pretty...
The 18 is very short. I mean, that's the size paper.
Need some discussion on some of those.
This is a tone.
Both of these are important resolutions. Yeah. All three of them are. Need some discussion on them. There was a time involved, and in order that we might arrive at the nomination of officers as required on the Constitution, all three of these resolutions are of real importance, requiring some discussion. I believe it would be ill-advisable to bring either three of them up at this time. So at this time, I'm going to call the chairman of the Credentials Committee, Jack Gage. If somebody will get him to come in, he's out in the foyer, to give us the final report of the Credentials Committee before we go into nomination of officers. Somebody see that Jack comes in. Now, it's been suggested by one or two, while we're waiting on him, that some groups would like to caucus. If you haven't got enough caucusing yet and still feel like you need to caucus, a motion to that effect could be recognized, and I would honor it. That's the only way this could be done, by a majority vote of the convention.
But, Brother Chairman,
Brother Ferris?
after Brother Gager has finished, I'd like to offer a motion at that time we recess for a 30-minute period prior to nomination of officers.
You offer that motion at this time?
Yes, sir.
That we
I'll second that.
recess for 30 minutes to caucus? That would be coming back at 2:30? We have any discussion on that motion? We have a motion and a second that we recess for 30 minutes after the credentials report. That would bring us back here at 2:30 for it and begin the nomination of officers. We have any discussion on that motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Brother.
no discussion on the motion, but just we would like to know what places are available for caucuses.
What places are available?
Yes.
All right, if the motion is adopted, then we'll try to make that arrangement. Are you ready for the question? All in favor of the motion to caucus, to recess for the purpose of caucus until 2:30, will signify by saying aye. All opposed? The ayes seem to have it. I'm going to like the speaker over here that the House is not voting. Anybody questions the ruling of the chair? All right, then after the credentials final report, then we will stand recessed and come back at 2:30 and begin the nomination of officers. Brother Jack Gage, your chairman of the Credentials Committee. Brother Smith, did you want recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask the Jackson County delegation to caucus in Parlor A if it's available.
Parlor A?
The Jackson County delegation.
Well, we might as well settle these places where we're going to meet before we get the committee's report then. You want to meet with the Jackson County, the delegates from the Jackson County local unions in Parlor A.
Right.
Electricians in Parlor B.
Electricians in Parlor B. Now, the foyer can be made available. We can get the Credentials Committee and all out of there. Let somebody have that. Who's next? Who else wants to caucus?
Communications workers will caucus immediately at the beginning of the recess in room 821.
821 CWA.
And I notice all of them are not here in the room. Some of them tardy, and those that are present, get a hold of your colleagues and get them up there.
821 CWA. Anybody else? Anybody else wants to caucus? All right, at this time, Chairman of the Credentials Committee will present that committee's final report. Brother Jack Gage.
Mr. Chairman, we have 3 additional delegates that registered this morning, and I offer you a motion that these 3 delegates be seated. This gives us a total of 210 delegates representing 77 local unions, pardon me, and 11 central bodies.
You've heard the committee's report. Motion that these 3 delegates seated be also seated, registered be seated. Have a second to adopt the committee's report. Any discussion? All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. All opposed? Motion carried and so ordered. Now, before we recess, I see we just had Senator Hugh Bailey from Winona walk in. We'd like to at least recognize him, say we're glad to have him. Hugh Bailey in the bank from Winona, we're certainly glad to have you around, Hugh. We're getting ready to recess for 30 minutes. Do you know anything about Senator E.K. Collins? You know anything about him? We're supposed to have been on the program this afternoon and he hasn't appeared. I was wondering if he's tied up in a committee someplace. Well, I didn't want to get ourselves in a position here of recessing for caucus if he's on his way. As far as you know, he's not coming this way. Well, here we'd be glad to have you around with us. We'll be back in session here at 2:30. Now, do we have any other announcements? Any other groups wants to caucus before recess? All right, the convention will stand recessed until 2:30. For discussion, anything we were doing, allow him to address the convention because of his tight schedule. Will you please advise the delegates to come in? The senator doesn't have but a few minutes, and every little bit counts. They might steal the Capitol while he's gone. Do we have, are all of these caucuses over with? See some empty tables here. How about that Jackson County caucus? Is it over with? I wonder if someone would check with a coffee shop down there and see if we've got any delegates down there. We've got someone somewhere. The coffee shop. See, just call on the phone. Tell the girl down there to announce the thing. You hadn't met Senator, have you? Right. Well, the delegates, please come into the convention hall. The convention will please be in order. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege this afternoon to have with us one of the most distinguished members of the Mississippi Senate. Were it not for the efforts of Senator Collins, the state of affairs in Mississippi would be much worse today than it is at the present time, in spite of the things that were enumerated here by Representative Wiesenberg this morning. Senator Collins is truly a representative of the people. In the past 4 months, it's been my privilege to have observed the operation of the Senate, and I'm convinced myself, were it not for the fact that Senator Collins was chairman of the Judiciary Committee in the Senate, that we would indeed be in bad shape today. Senator Collins has a labor background. He helped organize the Masonite plant in Laurel, Mississippi. He understands labor's problems. He's been a part of a labor organization. at one time. Senator Collins is a real, true blue Democrat. In spite of the fact that the governor of the state tried to carry the people off on a wild expedition to nowhere, Senator Collins was one of the few elected officials of the state to take the stump and try to convince the people of Mississippi to elect a Democratic president. Senator Collins should be in the Congress of the United States. See, we got some agreement on that statement. He qualified, as most of you know, on the last day for qualifying, feeling that there was a possibility that this marathon session of the Mississippi legislature might give up and go home and give him an opportunity to wage a campaign. Recognizing the fact, after qualifying, that this session would last probably until the primary elections, recognizing the fact that if he were to resign his position as judiciary chairman in the Senate and leave that chamber to wage an effective campaign, he decided that he could best protect the welfare of the people of Mississippi by remaining in the Senate and finishing out this term. And he has announced that he will be a candidate for Congress in the newly created 5th District, the old 6th District, presently represented by Bill Calmer, who has very seldom voted for any legislation beneficial to the great masses of the people. He will be a candidate for that office 2 years from now. It gives me a great deal of pleasure to present to you the distinguished senator from Jones, the free state of Jones, Senator E.K. Collins.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen of the great labor movement here in Mississippi. I assure you this afternoon that I'm not going to take much of your time because I have not had an opportunity to even get a glass of water until just then. When we did finally adjourn in the Senate, the Lieutenant Governor had called a meeting on the various tax matters and for immediately after adjournment, and we have just gotten out of that meeting. I am doing, along with a lot of other senators, everything within my power to prevent putting on another sales tax on we poor people in Mississippi. And I'm going to continue that fight so long as I'm able to stand into the Senate chambers. My friends, my good friend Claude Ramsey, and I want to say now that he has done one of the most outstanding jobs of any man that I've ever seen. And I'm going to call you a lobbyist, Claude, only you don't act like one, that any man has ever done in the legislature, I believe, in any state or in the national capital as far as that goes. in place of agitating people and worrying them to death and making enemies for we laboring people, Claude has made nothing but friends throughout the halls of the legislature. They don't agree with him, all of them, but they more agree with him than agree with me, I'm sure of that. So you're not by yourself, Claude. But he has run that office that you have appointed him, elected him to, with dignity and with stature that you would be proud in any position in the country to hold. My friends, the labor movement, as all of you know, is an old movement. Went back to the time before Christ was born, when his father was a laborer, a carpenter. And it's come on up through the years. And everything that we have is, of course, brought about through labor. We all labor. I believe I had the first CIO labor card in the state of Mississippi when it was newly organized, just a young boy getting my first job. When Madam Perkins came in as being head of the labor department, I wrote her a letter and asked her how to get somebody down to help us organize. Well, she sent them down, and they rolled them out of town that same night. But little by little, you men and women have built the laboring movement up to where today you are respected the same as if you were the Bar Association, the Medical Association, or any other association. I bear none when I say that. And I'm not just talking because I know I've been one of you. I've carried cards, I've organized, I've represented John L. Lewis, as mean as he is, in his labor fights. So I know a little something about what you have to go through with. I know something about the heartbreaks of your organizers and your people that you put up here. And I know something about these boys that stand up here in the halls of the legislature and try to get things done for you, like 2 years ago and in the game this year. Whenever they weren't backed up perhaps as much by you people as they should have. That's just the cold, unadulterated truth about it. And they only can be as strong as you are strong. They can only do what you help them do. They had a bill over there in the Senate. Somebody put it in that prevented you from having a firearm or a 22 or something. And I guess I must have 25 to 75 letters, telegrams, besides the phone calls about that bill from all over the state of Mississippi. Well, it didn't take long for that bill to be killed because all the other senators had the same proportionate amount of people and let them know how they felt about it. That is what you need to do here in this legislature. That's what you need to do in Washington. However, I think the crew that's up there now is not going to pay any attention to much what you say. But if you'll say it enough, and say it strong enough and loud enough, sooner or later somebody's going to listen to you, because if they don't, you'll be able to remove them one of these days. Now, my friends, this world we're living in today is, all of you know, is a world that's run on purely economics. It's a world that's run for profit and nothing else. You're entitled to your just share of that profit, the same as the man that owns the machinery, same as the man that owns the stock, the same as the man that sits in Washington or New York or Chicago or wherever the head office of the companies might be. You're entitled to your profit the same as they are entitled to theirs. And I believe that they're entitled to theirs too. It's a two-way road, and I believe we're all equal to travel it under the same dignity and with the same high head and with the same right of our own way to make our own profit, and that's what it amounts to. Without profit, you wouldn't be able to come here today. You wouldn't be able to have your home and your family and your automobiles and the things that you need. That's your profit. That's what you're working for. That's why you're organized. And I hope to see the day when there's every single solitary plant in Mississippi with a Union banner on it. And I believe that you can't stop there either, because there's too many sidelines, there's too many other businesses, retail, wholesale, and what have you, that there are too many people are working in sweatshops and working long hours that need your help. And whenever you help those people, you're going to be helping yourself, because they will not handle those goods that aren't made by union label when you get them organized. There again, you're going to be helping your fellow workers all over America. I wish I would have had time to come here and spent the whole time with you people, because I have many friends, and my memory goes back to the days when I was sitting there as one of you, and I'd like to be here with you the whole time, but it just doesn't permit it, because, my friends, it is a serious proposition, this blow-making. One bill can fix it where you couldn't even meet in this hall. Or you might kill with the Supreme Court of the United States, take it 3 or 4 years to get up there and get it declared unconstitutional. But just one bill would fix it where you couldn't even have a meeting here. Now those are the things that you've got to watch. And the people that are over there on that hill that are really, plain language, putting the screws to you, are the people that you ought to look to. The people that you ought to go see next election year. They are the people that need your attention. I know they're much abler than I am to do the things that ought to be done for you, but their talents are being wasted in another way. And I think that this body, today, or before this convention ends, should make us vow that every person that's not for him is against him. That's the only way I know how to say things. And when people's against me, I don't believe they're for my best interest. So, you know what to do. Now, Mr. President, there's a lot of bills I'd like to talk about, a lot of things I'd like to say. But let's don't be led down the primrose path and lulled into complacency and not keep up the fight, because 1 week they can undermine the whole work that you've done. And let's get ourselves ready to vote, not just for me, not just for some of our other friends here, but let's get ourselves ready to vote that we keep people in Washington and in Jackson, Mississippi, and in the county attorney's office and in the board of supervisors' office, and every other office in this state that will help us, laboring people of this state, and help this state and this nation in its hours of need and our need. And then when we do that, we'll have a country that we'll be proud of. Let me say Godspeed to your convention. It's a wonderful thing to be here, and I appreciate very much your great ovation here this afternoon. Thank you, one and all.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Collins, it's a real pleasure to have had your presence here this afternoon. Recognizing the importance of your duties, we know that it's a matter of necessity that you immediately get back to the Senate to this most important meeting. But before you leave, we have something that we'd like to have you hear, and an expression from the convention on. Vice President Clark.
I'm Vice President Clark of the Mississippi Labor Council. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to offer a motion. We request that Senator Collins report to the Senate Finance Committee this afternoon that the Mississippi Labor Council is opposed, I believe this is House Resolution 336.
336.
And is opposed to any increase in the state sales tax. Thank you.
We have a second to that motion? We have a second, I know. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried and so ordered. Be noted that the motion was carried by unanimous vote. Senator Collins, this might help a little bit.
Mr. President, and delegates and members of this convention, I'll assure you that message will be delivered, and there's plenty of other ways to get that tax. One thing, they could freeze the income taxes being reduced. In other words, taking it off the top and putting it on the bottom, the little fellow. There's a lot of other ways they can get it. There's a lot of other tax that we've told them, and we've got it, and I think we may have 2 or 3 bills we're working on that it'll bring the whole thing in kilter. And then, why do we have to be with a surplus up here in the banks of $34 or $5 million, and nobody in the world will get any benefit out of it but the bankers of Mississippi or wherever they are? I believe when I pay my tax dollars in up there, they ought to be spent on service to the people that need it in this state. And I don't believe we ought to put money up there in the bank to rust, that our tax dollars, just for the benefit of someone else, thinking about some governor in the future that needs a nest egg. I don't believe that, because we're not made, that's not government for you. When our federal government, maybe it's a little bit too much, but they see, and we the federal government, we the one tell them to do it, got a deficit of $300 billion, and we're afraid of $3 to $5 million here in the state of Mississippi. It doesn't make sense to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator, we'd be happy to have you visit with us again. The convention will last through tomorrow. Come back and see us. At this time, the time to begin the nomination of officers has arrived, and as outlined in the program, Assistant AFL-CIO Regional Director Bob Starnes, an old friend of ours who I think each and every one of you know, will preside over the nominations. Soon as the nominations are over with, then we will pick up and try to get our speakers that we've had to push back a little bit on the program. So at this time, it gives me a great deal of pleasure to present to you your chairman, to preside over the convention for the nomination of officers. Brother Bob Starnes. Bob?
Thank you, Mr. President. I was taking a little walk outside of the hotel at lunchtime, and I ran into a gentleman who was a member of the Bar Association in this state. And he told me that the Bar Association had a custom here, that every time a young lawyer finished school and was admitted to the bar Association furnished him with a sack of marbles. And that every time that lawyer made a mistake for the rest of his life, then the Bar Association would penalize him one marble and take a marble away from him. And when they lost all of the marbles, they then tried to elect him to the governorship of the state of Mississippi. You know, I'm still debating with myself over whether to go ahead and have the nominations of the officers here and get it over with, or whether to make a couple of remarks. And I'm a little bit more inclined to make a remark than I am to go ahead with nominating officers right now. And since I'm the chairman, I don't know who's going to stop me. But this morning, we heard a member of the Mississippi legislature address this body. And I might say to you that I have attended conventions and conferences and meetings all over the United States. And I have not ever heretofore heard a member of an administration, a member of a legislature, castigate that legislature as was done this morning. And I think that man pointed up in as fine a manner as could be done the job that we have to do in this state. He told us of corruption, of stupidity, of misrepresentation, and he also told us nobody was doing anything about it. And I think we know it's been going on in this state for years and years and years, and nobody has successfully done anything about it yet. And nobody's going to do anything about it except the people who are in this room and the people who are represented by you in this room. We are going to have to fight the battle on every conceivable front in this state. Politically, legislatively, and in any and every other manner. I think the time is ended. It's done. When the labor movement in this state should turn over and play dead every time a lazy politician kicks us. It's time to fight back. And I think that's what this group of people here wants to do. I think even we might have to give consideration a couple of years from now to doing a thing again that we did 10 years ago, in 1952, prior to national conventions where a president and a vice president were to be nominated. It appeared to some of us in the state at that time that there was a movement on foot headed by the governor, the then governor, to go into the direction of independent electors, so-called. And we decided we'd fight about it. We decided we'd do something about it.
And there's some people in this room this afternoon who participated in that effort. And we started out and held our own democratic, they called us a rock democratic group, but that's all right. We held our own precinct conventions, and then county conventions, and then a state convention. And we elected our own delegates and sent them to the convention in Chicago and went before the Credentials Committee to be seated. We didn't get seated, but we accomplished what we went out to do. We had the governor down on his knees before the Credentials Committee begging, you seat us and seat my people and I'll go back to Mississippi and carry the state for the Democratic Party. And that's what happened, and that's the only reason in 1952 this state stayed Democratic. We might have to think about that again. You know, I think we're about to learn what the score is. We're about awake. And I'm going to tell you this one more little joke which I've told before and some of you have heard, but it appeals to me, and I'm going to tell it again. About the time when I was trying to organize a plant, I was in a little restaurant and got to talking to a boy who worked there and asked him about joining the union, and he told me no. He didn't want to join the union. That the people in that plant didn't need a union. And I asked him why. Why, he said, would you think we need a union when we have a boss who'll pick you up in his automobile after work and take you for a ride? Who'll take you to dinner? Who'll take you to a show? Who'll buy you a few drinks? Then take you up to his apartment to look at color TV and spend the night? That's the kind of a boss that we have around here. We don't need a union when he treats us that way. I said, did that ever happen to you? He said, no, not to me, but it happened to my sister. Well, he didn't know what the score was, but I think we've about found out, and we're tired of that kind of treatment. Now, I'm going to hush. I've said about enough. And try to get on with the job of nominating the officers of this council. According to the Constitution, Constitution says we shall elect a president, 3 vice presidents, a secretary-treasurer, and 10 board members. And we will accept nominations in that order. The chair will, after believing that no more nominations will be forthcoming, call 3 times for further nominations, and if none are heard, at the end of 3 calls, nominations will automatically be closed. The chair now declares the floor open for nominations for the president of this council to serve for the next 2 years. Brother Bruton.
Mr. Chairman and fellow delegates, it's my privilege, and I do want to say I consider it a privilege to appear before you, to place before you the name of a man that I think appropriately fitted to serve as president of this Labor Council for the coming 2 years. I've known him for some number of years. My first contacts with him I was inclined to be just a little bit aggravated with him. But the longer I got associated with him and the closer I came to know him, I found out that the things that perhaps aggravated me were not what I had first construed them to be. I found that that was energy and interest and a desire to be active and to put into motion and to bring into being certain ideas and certain principles that he believed in. And I came to appreciate that. I've come to recognize the fact that he has the ability to serve in an official capacity and to do a job as directed. And I think that term there is something that needs to be re-emphasized. To do a job as directed. And it is the function of the presiding officer of this body to carry out the wishes and the dictates, the policies that emanate from this convention. And I think this man is amply qualified and has demonstrated the capacity and the ability to seek the advice and counsel of those associated with him and those jointly charged in discharging the responsibilities of the various offices to so do. I admire him for that. You have heard other speakers from this platform in the course of this convention express the regard which various public officials hold for him. You have heard members of the legislature state that his conduct has been exemplary, that it has well honored the confidence that you have bestowed upon him in the past. I could take a considerable amount of time to impose on you my views and to say other things that I think would be befitting. But I think he's amply qualified in that he has been a member of a bona fide trade organization for a number of years. His people in his local community have seen fit from time to time to honor him in official capacities in his Central Labor Union in Jackson County. He is now serving his third year as president of this state council. And it is my privilege and my pleasure to present to you as nominee for the office of President, Claude Ramsey of Moss Point, Mississippi.
Are there further nominations for President? Brother Daniel.
I should like to take a few moments to second the nomination of our President Claude Ramsey for the position that he now holds. It is not very often that I have the opportunity to have the privilege of nominating or seconding the nomination of a man whom I have grown to admire officially for his real appreciation and application of his talents, of himself physically to the job that he now holds. He has had considerable experience. His report will reflect that his experience has served us well that his decisions have been wise ones. The esteem with which he is held by those with whom he is closely associated, those within and without the labor movement, speaks well for his sincerity, for his stability, for his purpose, for his acute perception of the plight, the problems, and the solving of those problems that face the working people and the members of the AFL-CIO in this state. Above all these very desirable traits that I have mentioned, one stands out to me that is above all of them in my dealings and associations with Claude Ramsey, and that is his honesty in dealing with others and handling our problems. I, for one, and I'm sure there are many, if not all, have complete confidence in our president in doing the job that he has, and I submit that we should encourage him in every way by our support in this election and in other ways, encourage him to continue to serve us as president of the Mississippi Labor Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Daniel. Are there further nominations for president? Are there further nominations for president? For the third and last time, are there further nominations for president? Hearing none, the chair declares nominations closed. The Constitution further states as follows: the voting for all officers and members of the General Executive Board may be by acclamation for any of the positions for which there is no contest. In view of that provision, the chair will entertain a motion that Brother Claude Ramsey be elected president of this council by acclamation.
Second motion, Mr. Chairman.
You have heard the motion. The second? I think it does not need restating. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed by the opposite sign? Brother Ramsey has been elected by acclamation as president of this council. Next, nominations are open for 3 vice presidents. Brother Beckham.
Mr. Chairman, fellow delegates, I rise to place before you a name of a person who has proven himself as a board member, and now we feel that it is time for graduation and move him up to another step to a vice president. He is assistant business agent of his local union. He is a past vice president of the Jackson Central Labor Union. He's a deacon in his church, upstart young man, willing to work and do this council a good job. He's conscientious in his work. And I am speaking of C.E. Jack Schaefer, from IBEW 605, Jackson, Mississippi.
Brother Schaefer has been nominated. Are there further nominations?
Ray Smith, Hart, Vice President of the Mississippi Labor Council. I'd like to place for the nomination a man that I know all you people know, and as I've been knowing him for several years, I've never heard anything against this man, and in this community he is well thought of. But I've talked to a lot of people as in positions in the legislature and the Senate in the state of Mississippi that they recognize this man as a good, honest man, and they take him at his word with a lot of respect. But he served on the board for a number of years, and in this board that I've been in close contact with him, and I've never seen him get upset. He's always cool and calm and willing at all times to consider all questions and give an honest and a fair opinion and a decision on what he renders. At this time, I'd like to place the name of Marvin E. Taylor of Local 387 of Columbus, Mississippi, Carpenter's Local 387.
Brother Marvin Taylor has been nominated. Are there further nominations?
Mr. Chairman, Wayman Goodman, President Board Member, and IUE member from Columbus, Mississippi. I would like to place the name of a man that has been a privilege for me to work with for 3 years on the board and in his capacity as Vice President of the Council. A man that has done a tremendous job in the council and in his local area as president of his Central Labor Union. He is well thought of by his fellow workers and the citizens of his hometown and county, and he is well thought of by some of the friendly public officials and is known, and also of this group here and of the officers that has had the privilege to work with him. This name I would like to place in the nomination is Jim Clark of the communication workers from Laurel.
Are there further nominations? Do we have further nominations for the vice presidencies?
Mr. Chairman, before you proceed any further, don't you think according to the book of rules, Robert's book of rules, that you nominate one at a time with the one position, the second vice, then first vice president, then the second vice president, and the third vice president?
Your Constitution does not make any differentiation between your vice presidents. Do we have further nominations for vice president? For the third and last time, are there any further nominations for vice president? Hearing no further nominations, the chair declares nominations closed. I'm running a little fast, I guess. I should ask these gentlemen if they accept. So I guess I'd better do it now. Brother Jack Schaefer, do you accept? Brother Marvin Taylor, do you accept? Brother Jim Clark, do you accept? 3 positions are to be filled. 3 have been nominated. All 3 have accepted. The chair will accept a motion to elect all 3, Brother Schaefer, Brother Taylor, and Brother Clark, as vice presidents by acclamation. There's a motion by Brother Ferguson, seconded by many in the body. All in favor of such a motion, please say aye. Any opposed by the opposite sign? And Brother Schaefer, Brother Taylor, and Brother Clark have been elected by acclamation. Nominations are now open for members of the Executive Board. I'm sorry, for Secretary-Treasurer. For Secretary-Treasurer. Brother Cash?
James Cash, a delegate from Local 3519. I would like to place in nomination a person who really doesn't need any introductions to this group, but I'd like to call to your attention a few of the things that he is doing. He has served his local union as a president. He has served his international ACWA as a representative. He has served this Labor Council as a vice president, and as president is serving the council as secretary-treasurer and director of COPE. I would like to place in nomination Thomas Knight.
Brother Thomas Knight has been nominated. Are there further nominations for Secretary-Treasurer? Are there further nominations for Secretary-Treasurer? For the third and last time, does the chair hear further nominations for Secretary-Treasurer? Hearing none, nominations are closed. The chair will accept a motion that Brother Thomas Knight be elected by acclamation. Motion and second by many. Brother Thomas Knight be elected Secretary-Treasurer of this body by acclamation. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. And the ayes have it, and it's so ordered. Brother Knight has been elected by acclamation. Now then, we will get to the board members. 10 board members are to be elected. Nominations are now open for membership on the executive board of this council. Brother Beckham.
Mr. Chairman, fellow delegates, I hate to be like a jumping jack, but when you get a hold of a good man you want to place on the board, you have to speak up for him. I rise to place before you the name of a fellow from Northeast Mississippi, one of the most anti-labor sections of this state. The people from that part of the country know what I'm talking about, and the people from other parts of the country have heard those people talking about it. Northeast Mississippi is a dangerous area. The people up there in the labor movement have to watch themselves very closely. We have a man in our international union who's not scared to speak out. He has proven that in a number of occasions. He is president of the central body in his hometown. He's business agent of his local union, one of the largest in the state. And I am speaking of John Gillespie, business agent of IBEW Local 1028, Tupelo, Mississippi.
I'm going to ask that the nominees for the board, when they are nominated, come forward and be seated on the platform to be sure that everybody in the room will see who has been nominated and will know who they are voting for. Now, Brother Gillespie has been nominated. Brother Gillespie, will you please come forward? Now, there's a line on my right and a line on my left. And I'm going to alternate between the two lines. The lady on the left.
I, Catherine Jeff Coates, President of Local 554, Amalgamated Clothing Workers of America, rise to put a name before you of a lady that has served on this executive board ever since that it has been affiliated. She has been very conscientious in doing this job. I think she's done a job well. I, place before you Frida Guyton, Local 779, ACWA Meridian, present board member.
Sister Frida Guyton has been nominated. Frida, where are you? Okay, come on up. The platform will look a great deal better being graced by a lovely lady. Brother Bowers.
Bert Bowers, presently board member of the Mississippi Labor Council. The young lady which I wish to place in nomination I have known since childhood. I mean her childhood, not mine. And I know that she is honest and that her integrity cannot be questioned. I've had the pleasure of working with this young lady in various phases of the movement in this area, and I found her to be a very hard-working person, and above that, I found that she's conscientious and above all, loyal to this great organization. She served for 6 years as secretary of her local, which is Local 3511 of the CWA. She served 2 years on the National Policy Bargaining Committee of the CWA. She has served for the past 3 years as a board member of the Labor Council. And she is presently chairman of the Women's Activities Division of the Jackson Central Labor Union. And beyond these labor posts, she served for 6 years as secretary of the Telco Credit Union, and that's an awful big credit union. And presently, she is serving as vice president of the Telco Credit Union. I believe her to be very capable, and I know she is hardworking and has the interest of this organization at heart. It gives me pleasure to place in nomination Sister Doris Kelly of 3511 CWA.
Sister Kelly is on the way to the platform.
V.R. Hatton of ACWA Local 563 of Hattiesburg. I would love to place the name of a mighty good friend of mine and a man that is a present member of the board, Mr. W.A. Stevens of 707 ACWA Corinth, Mississippi.
Brother W.A. Stevens has been nominated. Am I right?
My name is Morris Gordon. I'm vice president of Local 363, URW Workers of America. And I'd like to nominate Charles H. Arnold of Local 792, IUE, out at Vickers Plant. And he used to be a member of our local, and he was well liked in our local, and I think if he gets a job, everybody will like it here.
What's his local number?
792,
Thank you.
IUE.
Brother Charles H. Arnold of Local 792 IUE in Jackson has been nominated. Brother Woodall.
Donald Woodall, board member. I would like to place before you this afternoon the name of W.D. Bilbo from Natchez, Mississippi. He's a member of Local 602 of the United Paper Makers and Paper Workers. He is now serving as vice president of his local union. And Brother Bilbo comes from Franklin County, Mississippi. And as you well remember, back 2 years ago when the Right to Work Amendment was up, it was 4 counties in this state that defeated it. And Franklin County was one of those counties. And I know for sure that Brother Bilbo played a big part in getting the amendment defeated in that county. So the people from Natchez feel that we should have a board member, be represented on the board member. So it's a pleasure to me, again, to place before you W.D. Bilbo. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Woodall. Brother Bilbo, will you come forward, sir? On my right.
I am Ben Farris from Local 733, Pascagoula, electrician. IBEW. I'd like to submit a name to y'all this afternoon of a present board member that we around Jackson County that know the fellow so well would certainly like to see him be put back on the board. He's Leo's union. He is a good union man. He belongs to the sheet metal union there and also the office workers. And that is none other than Mr. E.L. Barnes, which is a board member now.
Brother Barnes has been nominated. Sit up on some of these. Lady on my left.
I'm Evelyn Voss from Local 448, Purvis, Mississippi. I nominate Wayman Goodman, who is present board member from IUE Local 794 from Columbus, Mississippi. Thank you.
Will you give me that name again, please, ma'am? I didn't get it at all.
Wayman Goodman.
Wayman Goodman. I should have known you, boy. Over here on my right.
H.L. O'Neill from Carpenter's Local 569, Pascagoula, Mississippi. I'd like to submit a name here for a board member who has been been a member of IEW Local 733. He's carried a card in that for 20 years. He has been Cope Director in Jackson County for the past 2 years, of which I might add he has done a wonderful job. And he is also a civic-minded working man. He's in Central Labor Union. He's interested in all labor movements. Mr. L. Galot, Local Union 733.
Give me his name again, please, sir.
L. Galot.
Spell it.
G-U-I-L-O-T-T-E.
Is Local Union number 733 of what international?
That's the IBEW.
IBEW. Thank you, sir.
Juanita Knuckles from ILGW 578 in Ellisville. I'd like to nominate a man who has been a faithful and capable worker with the COPE, 6th District COPE, with this Labor Council as an executive board member and as a business representative for our local unions. Russell McMahon from Pascagoula.
Brother McMahon has been nominated. Brother Bruton.
Mr. Chairman, Claude Bruton of the Jackson Central Labor Union. I want to place before the delegates the name of a man as a nominee for our board. A fellow that many years ago, when I was just a child, he used to be in that age group just a little bit older than me, and they used to pick on me and kick me around and run over me, and I said that if I ever got big enough and old enough to get even with him, I was. And being affiliated with this organization for a number of years, I know that board member carries with it a considerable responsibility and a number of hard knocks, and is about as severe punishment as you can inflict upon a fellow that serves the organization free gratis. Some 3 years ago, I presented this man as a nominee for a board member, and you people saw fit to elect him as such. It was very gratifying to me that you did. He served the convention with distinction. He's a man that has always been available for consultation to advise with the executive officers of the convention. I think he's done a magnificent job of service to the convention already in the 3 years that he has served. For the past 18 years, he's either been president or secretary-treasurer of his own local union, Division 1208 of the Amalgamated Streetcar Electrical Association. He has been, for a number of years, I believe, president of the Interstate Council of Bus Drivers, which is comprised of 15 states. showing the regard that others in other jurisdictions have of him and of his ability. As stated, he is now serving as a board member and has been for the past 3 years. And he is also serving as vice president and as co-director of the Jackson Central Labor Union. It's my pleasure to place before you as nominee for an office of board member, Bert Bowers of Division 1208 Amalgamated Association.
Brother Bowers has been nominated. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I don't believe in long speeches because I think the delegates are getting a little tired and maybe they want an early adjournment. And I'm not very long-winded no way. But I would like to place the name of a man in nomination for whom I've worked with a number of years. He's a young man, and he started working for Knox Glass Company when he was in high school. He worked on weekends that he might get further education. And he's been a member of the Jackson Central Labor Union for a long period of time. He's given much of his time to organize labor in and around Jackson. And it gives me a great pleasure to place in the name of Arthur Conde, Local 41, Jackson, Mississippi, as a member of your executive board.
What was his local number?
Local 41, glass blowers.
Go ahead, sir.
I'm William J. Reach from the Aluminum Workers International Union, Local 245 at Gulfport. I feel at this time it's an honor, since our local is the only local in Mississippi, submit the name of a man who for the past 20 years has been a good union member. He is a member of the Rubber Workers in Natchez, also a member of the International Union of Machinists at Natchez. At the present time, he is president of our local. This man has built our membership up from 50% to 95% in a year and a half. He is a delegate to the Harrison County Central Labor Council and also on the executive board of the same council as trustee. I submit the name of T.L. Niecase as a nominee to the executive board of this council.
Give me the name again, please.
T.L. Niecase.
Spell the last name.
N-E-C-A-I-S-E.
Thank you. On my left, I see we have a late arrival, Brother Daniel.
I should like to place in nomination for a position on the executive board the name of L.I. Cook of Vicksburg, Mississippi, a member of the Communications Workers of America and an officer in his local of noteworthy service to organized labor in that area, active in the Central Labor Union. Geographically, I'm concerned that we should have an active, ardent, dedicated unionist from that area on the executive board and submit his name, L.I. Cook, for your consideration.
Thank you, Brother Daniel. Brother Upton?
B.R. Upton, Carpenters, Jackson, Mississippi. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to place a nomination of a man that's a member of the Carpenters from Biloxi, Local 1667. He's president of the Harrison County Central Labor Union. He's an instructor and teaches the apprenticeship class of his local union. He's been active in the movement in that area for many years. He's been a member of our of our union for 21 years. I'd like to place a nomination for the Al Day as a board member.
Give me the name, please, sir.
Day.
Al, A-L-L-D-A-Y, Day.
Right.
Are there further nominations to the executive board? Does the chair hear further nominations to the executive board? For the third and last time, are there further nominations to the executive board? Hearing none, nominations are declared closed. the chair has assumed, by virtue of the fact that each person nominated has come forward and taken a position on the platform, that meant that person accepted the nomination. The chair is going to call each name of each nominee, the name of each nominee, in the order they were nominated, and ask that person to stand just for a second so that the delegates may see them. And if any nominee does not desire to accept nomination at the time his name or her name is called, he or they shall then state. Brother John Gillespie. Sister Frida Guyton. Sister Doris Kelly. Brother W.A. Stevens. Brother Charles H. Arnold. Brother E.L. Barnes. Brother Wayman Goodman. Brother W.D. Bilbo. Brother L-G-U-I-L-L-O-T-T-E, Guillot. À la française. Oui. Brother Russell McMahon. Brother Bert Bowers. Brother Arthur Condia. Brother T.L. Nikes. Nikes. Brother L.I. Cook. Brother Al Day. You have seen the nominees. No further positions are to be filled. Therefore, nominations are at an end. I would like to say to you, thanks for your kind attention. To your presiding officer, Brother Ramsey, thanks for the privilege of presiding during these nominations. And to you who have been elected by acclamation, and to those of you who will be elected tomorrow, if I personally or our office can do anything to help you and help this council with any problem at any time, we hope that you will call on us. I now turn the chair back to President Claude Ramsey. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to extend to the delegates to this convention my sincerest appreciation for the confidence that you played in myself, the Secretary-Treasurer, and the one remaining Vice President on your old board.
it'd be most difficult for me to find the words to express my heartfelt feeling of deep appreciation at this time. I will assure you that the business of this organization will be continued to be handled in the best fashion that we can provide. We have quite a bit of business to do this afternoon. We have been forced to push our schedule back some. But there's one thing here now that the nomination is over with that I would like very much to take just a few minutes of your time with. We have had, I know, some discussions, some groups that have felt that things were not just as they should be in the organization. I know that we have some people who probably have not been delegates to the convention in past years, who probably are newly elected officers of local unions, who do not fully realize or comprehend the magnitude of our operation and the things involved. I appeared this morning before the Constitution and Bylaws Committee, felt that I should, as President of the Council, to make some recommendations to that committee on some areas in the Constitution that I felt should receive the attention of this convention. Shortly after the Vicksburg Convention, we found ourselves in a real tight spot. We decided that we should put up a fight and attempt to defeat this right-to-work proposition as far as a constitutional amendment was concerned. Being unable to secure a further leave of absence, I was unable to devote my full time to that project. I had a choice, I felt, of resigning as president of the council, getting someone on the job that could devote their time to it. I presented this matter to the executive board, and the executive board decided, as I understand the Constitution, that they had the authority to place the president on a full-time basis. They made that decision by unanimous vote. I feel this afternoon that it's my responsibility to report this matter to this convention, along with a few other things. This was a tough decision for me to make. Naturally, it was a tough decision for me to make. Having 21 years seniority in one plant and giving it all up to take on this type of a job. It was a tough decision for your board to make, to place another full-time man in the employ of the council, knowing full well that the finances of the council as it existed at that time were not in a position to properly finance two full-time men. Well, we went about the job. We did a fairly good job, I think, the cooperation of everyone. We got a lot more votes against the thing, and a lot of people fought, and I think we received some badly needed recognition as results of the activity in that election. There's been a number of other things that your board has had to deal with in regards to finances and things of this kind. Take a long time to go into it in detail with you. But the same provision that's in the Constitution today was there when the executive board decided to put on full-time a secretary and treasurer. The thing is a little bit vague. I recommended to the committee that they review this matter and try to bring that Constitution into some form that it could better be understood, and not place this board in a position where if the delegates or members of the organization could not understand some of the things that had been done. I hope that that committee will take some action at this convention in view of the fact that your board made that decision in the absence of a convention, that this is now the first regular convention since that action was taken. I would like to I'm seeking an expression from this convention of that board's action. I think this matter should be dealt with before we recess this convention this afternoon. I deeply appreciate the confidence that you've played in me by virtue of not having a nominee in opposition to me. I started at one time to raise this question prior to nominations, but I felt that someone might think that I had other motives for it. So at this time, I'd like to find the expression of the convention on the actions of your board in this particular area, and let's see if we can arrive at an understanding.
Mr. Chairman.
Brother Daniel.
I move that the convention endorse and reaffirm the action of the board in placing the full-time officers that we presently have when they did it.
I'll accept that motion. Motion is that the convention confirm the action of the board. Is that the motion?
That's it.
Brother Bruton?
Yes, sir, I would
We
like
have a
to-
second to the motion.
I'd like to second that motion. I think it's incumbent upon this convention assembled here to concur in the actions which the executive board took by virtue of the authority given to them under the Constitution, and to congratulate the board and the executive officers of this convention upon a job which they have done well in the circumstances in which they've been placed.
Have any further discussion? Not all in favor of the motion? Now, let's see, you want a division of the House, you want to vote by voice. Well, we'll vote by voice. If the question is raised, then we'll have a division of the House. All in favor of the motion signify it by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion has been adopted. Secretary will note that it was by unanimous vote. Again, let me say I appreciate that vote of confidence, and I know that each and every member of the board, your officers, do likewise. Now, we have pushed our schedule back and back and back, and our speakers are beginning to wonder if we're going to push them all the way off of the program. Now, I have agreed with the two gentlemen up here to move one of them over till tomorrow, hoping that we can work the thing in a little bit better. But we are not going to push the other one any further back. We're privileged today to have with us a young man that has served this labor movement for a number of years in various capacities. He's been the president of his own local union. He's been in the employment of his own international union. He served as officers of the central bodies. He served as the president of the Tennessee Labor Council and the Old State Federation for a number of years. At the San Francisco Convention in 1949, we had a real serious debate in regards to the affiliation problem, the lack of affiliation on the part of a lot of our local unions with the state and local central bodies. This is a real serious problem. It's the most serious problem that we have in Mississippi. This is something that we have to overcome if we're going to get the job done. By virtue of not having these groups into the state council, the local unions that are presently affiliated are having to carry a double burden. This is the honest truth of the matter. This is how simple it is. We debated this question in San Francisco and attempted to pass a constitutional requirement in the Constitution of the AFL-CIO, making it mandatory on the part of all international unions to affiliate those local unions with the central and local bodies. As a result of that debate and of the problems that existed in that area, the Executive Council of the AFL-CIO created a new department known as the Coordinator of Local and Central Bodies. Brother Stanton Smith of our neighboring state of Tennessee, who had an outstanding record as a president of the Tennessee Council, was named to that position. He served in that capacity since 1949 when the office was created. He's done a tremendous job. Much work remains to be done in this area. I'm confident that he will eventually, with the help of the rest of us, reach the objectives as set out when this office was created by a full affiliation on the part of all of our people. It gives me a great deal of pleasure at this time to present to you an old neighbor of ours, Stanton Smith, the director of the newly created department, Coordination of Local and State Central Bodies. Brother Smith.
Thank you, Brother President, officers and delegates to this convention of the Mississippi Labor Council. At the outset, I'd like to express my appreciation to Dan Powell for yielding his time to me this afternoon so that I could speak, and also to Claude for his willingness to change me from the morning session to the afternoon session. Unfortunately, I have to leave early in the morning and couldn't stay over until the meeting tomorrow. I'm also glad to note that you've got all of your caucuses out of the way, and hope that it will not be necessary for any of you to leave while I'm talking. Not that what I have to say is of such great importance or of such great eloquence, but I think it is of some importance to you as members of the labor movement in this state of Mississippi. First of all, I'd like to bring to you the official greetings of President George Meany of the AFL-CIO. He has expressed to me and asked me to convey to you his feelings about the work that you're doing here in this state, and the fact that he recognizes the problems that you're confronted with and the degree of effort which you're putting out in an attempt to meet those problems and to solve them. And for my part, I can say that the evidence of progress here in Mississippi are tremendous. Since I was last here, I think I last had the privilege of speaking to one of your conventions in 1956 when I was still president of the Tennessee State Labor Council. And the evidence of progress of the labor movement here in this state is very great. And you're to be complimented for it, and I congratulate you upon it. I'm very sorry that I was not able to attend the special convention last June, I believe it was, at which you adopted the program of progress. But my schedule made it impossible. However, I would like to say this about the program of progress which you have adopted. that you're now one of 4 states which have adopted a program of this kind, and in a very real sense, the labor movement in Mississippi and in your sister states of Louisiana and Alabama and Tennessee, you are leading the way and showing the labor movement in this country the kind of a program that will put new vitality into the labor movement in the various states. Mississippi ranks high in the problems that you're confronted with, but you also rank high in the effort that you're putting out to solve those problems. And you're to be complimented for it, and I want to congratulate you and your officers for the leadership which they are showing and for the fine work that they are doing, and also to compliment them upon their re-election. Mississippi has more than its share of problems, I think we can all agree. One example comes to mind. For many years, this state had no workmen's compensation law. It was the last state in the Union to adopt a workmen's compensation law to protect injured workmen. And when you did adopt one, you adopted the best law that was on the statute books in the United States. Many of the authorities in the field agree that it was one of the finest. You had the benefit of the experience of the other states through the years with their workmen's compensation laws. But what happened? Because you weren't strong enough to hold the gains that you had made, you have now had your workmen's compensation law emasculated and decimated and made much less effective than it was. And you have lost ground because the labor movement was not strong enough to hold the gains that you had made. Another example of the kind of problems that you're confronted with comes to mind in terms of the so-called right-to-work law, which at one time was merely a statute enacted by the legislature. And they didn't think that was enough, so they decided to write it into your Constitution. And they wrote it into your Constitution. Why? Because the labor movement was not strong enough to stay the tide. These are the kind of problems that you're confronted with. But let me tell you this, Mississippi is not alone in being confronted with problems of this kind. You've got plenty of company, because the labor movement throughout this country today is being subjected to severe attack by its enemies, not only in Congress, but in every state legislature throughout the land. And unless our state federations and our local central bodies are strong and effective, they cannot stop this anti-labor tide which threatens to sweep over us. The AFL-CIO recognizes that in terms of legislation and in terms of effective political action as the foundation upon which to build a legislative program, that there is no more important agency than our state federations and our local central bodies. It is to these organizations that the AFL-CIO looks to effectuate the policies in these fields of the national organization. And unless we can have effective state federations, unless we can have strong and effective local central bodies to coordinate our political action program and to organize the kind of grassroots support for our legislative program that we must have if we're to succeed, then we are doomed to failure. So we're very happy when we see a state like Mississippi and like the other states in this territory rise to the challenge, adopt a program such as the Program of Progress which you have adopted, assess yourselves an amount of money which many states regard as high as compared with their own. But this expresses a determination on the part of the working people of Mississippi to do something about their problems, and you're to be congratulated and complimented for it. The AFL-CIO, as I said, is looking to you and to the other state federations and to the local central bodies to make our program of political action and legislative work effective. We're trying to do something about it in terms of helping you. The new department to which Claude alluded, the Department of State and Local Central Bodies, was established by the AFL-CIO primarily to help strengthen the basic structure of our state federations and local central bodies. We have been involved mainly in a project to bring about maximum affiliation of local unions with these organizations. Because without affiliation, these organizations will be weak in terms of manpower, weak in terms of income. We have made a survey of the situation. We know something what the real picture is, and the picture is not good. Out of the some 13 or 14 million members of the AFL-CIO in the country, only about 2/3 of those members are affiliated with their respective state federations. This varies from state to state, as low as 30% in some states, as high as 82% in another. And the range is all the way between those two figures. In Mississippi, you're just a little bit under 50% affiliated. We found out some other interesting things. We found out that the pattern of affiliation from one international union to another varied greatly. One large international union only has 8% of its local unions affiliated with their respective state federations. One of the large unions represented here, the Amalgamated Clothing Workers, has the best record of affiliation of any of the large international unions, with 91% of their locals affiliated throughout the country. And we have a range all the way between these two extremes, from 8% to 91%. The point I would like to make is that this is a waste of strength and manpower that the labor movement can ill afford today when we have so many battles to fight on so many fronts. We're not going to make progress in terms of legislation, in terms of political action, except through united action coordinated by our state feds and our local central bodies. So that today more than ever, we need the affiliation of all the organizations, not only in Mississippi, but throughout the country. We found out some other interesting things in the survey that we have made. We found that the dues rates, the per capita taxes paid to state federations, range all the way from 2 cents a member a month to 25 cents a member a month. There are 2 states which have 25 cents a member a month, Louisiana and Nevada. New York State, with 1 million members affiliated, has a 2 cent per capita. And the range is all the way between these two extremes. Now, I'm sure that you people who live in Mississippi get tired of listening to the statistics that rank Mississippi at the bottom of everything. Well, this is one thing which you don't rank at the top, but you rank right up close to the top. And you have reason to be proud of that, because it is an expression of your determination to do something about your problem. You're not at the top. There are several states that are higher, but you are near the top. And this is to your credit. Another interesting fact that has come out in the survey that we have made, and that is that there is very little relationship between the degree of affiliation and the amount of per capita tax. New York State, with a 2 cent per capita tax, the lowest in the country, has only 50% of the membership in that state affiliated. Nevada, with the highest per capita tax in the country, has 70% of its membership affiliated. And there is no relationship, apparently, between the amount of per capita tax and the degree of affiliation. But there is a relationship between the kind of a program that an organization has and its affiliation. And if an organization has a program, the membership of our unions will support it. No, they're not supported 100%. They never will support it 100%. Even when you have what compulsory affiliation, as some international unions require in their constitutions that a local union must affiliate, even in those cases you don't have 100% affiliation. But I heard President Meany say something a number of years ago which impressed me very much. We were having a political education conference in Washington, and we were talking about the participation of the various international unions. And he gave us a list of those international unions which were cooperating in the dollar membership drive for political education. And it was obvious that there were a number of international unions that were not cooperating. And so this question was raised on the floor by one of the delegates, who said, what about that union over there that isn't cooperating? And he named one of the big internationals. Why should we be called upon to do everything? And this went on. 2 or 3 delegates spoke along this same line. And then George Meany got up and he said, let me say something on this. This has always been true in the labor movement. We've always had some who were not willing to carry their share of the load. Just like you have some people in the shop who will hide behind the right to work law in order to exercise their right not to join the union, you also have unions that won't carry their share of the burden. He says, all we ask is that those who don't want to do their share not get in the way of those who do. I think this is very important. Many of you have been engaged in organizing campaigns. You've asked a worker to join the union to sign a card. He said, well, if Johnny does, I will. We have unions that act just like that. They're willing to do their share if the other one does. But I agree with President Meany. We're never going to get 100%. So let those who don't want to cooperate and who don't want to push the program, let them not get in the way of those who do. We're working on this affiliation problem. We're getting more cooperation from the international unions. The international unions are becoming more aware of the importance of affiliation with our state federations and what it means in terms of political action and legislative support, and also in terms of our relationship with the communities. Because the image of the labor movement that many people has is based primarily upon the actions of the state labor movement and of the local central body in the communities where they are. And if we're going to establish effective ties with the community, if we're going to get the kind of support that we must have from people who are not members of our unions in order to succeed in our program of political action, if we're going to win the kind of legislation that we need and that the people of America need, then it's going to be up to the state federations and the local central bodies to coordinate the work of all of the unions in their communities toward that objective. So we're working on this, and the international unions are beginning to recognize the importance of it. And I firmly believe that the next year is going to show a dramatic improvement in the level of affiliation at the state and local level, because more and more of the unions are beginning to pressure their local unions to discharge their obligation to the labor movement and not be shirkers. We'll stop running an open shop state federation one of these days in the various states, because that's what we're doing. But we're making progress on this problem. Let me say in conclusion that in a very real sense, the labor movement is the people's lobby. The things that we're interested in legislation are things that are good for the people of this country. Who else is interested in the unemployed, the discriminated against, the poverty-stricken? Who else is interested in raising minimum wages, in giving greater support to education? Yes, there are others, but there are also powerful forces in this country who are opposed to all of those things, to doing anything about them. And if it were not for the labor movement, the voices raised in support of these things would be weak indeed. And we have a new issue today. We have a new issue. Medical care for the aged through Social Security. And let me let you in on a little secret. The polls show that this is the most popular issue that the American people have before it. And this is something that the labor movement started, and it's something we're going to see through to the finish. So that you and I, when we are old, will be able to get the kind of medical care that we have earned during our working years. And so that you and I can have the burden taken off of us for the awful costs of medical illness, of medical care for the ill when they're old. And also so that we can discharge our obligation to our children. Because the terrible cost of illness in old age is something that can bankrupt those of us who have parents at one end and children at the other, who must look to us for help. So this is a real issue. And it's something that the labor movement can carry forward and on which we can win in the elections ahead of us. I know Dan Powell is going to say something about this tomorrow, and he's going to tell you that I have spoiled the last page of his speech. The other speakers that have spoken to your convention have spoiled all of the other pages, and I now just spoiled his last one. So he's going to have to stay up all night tonight and write a new speech, but it'll be a good one, I guarantee you. In any event, let me say this. When you look at the program of progress which you have adopted, when you go over those things item by item, you can see that what I say about the labor movement being a people's lobby is indeed a true statement, because the things we're concerned with are not for ourselves selfishly, but for the welfare of all of the American people. So we're faced with a great challenge. I'm confident that the labor movement will rise to meet that challenge. And I'm happy to say that the labor movement of Mississippi is a very vital and real part of that effort of the labor movements. And I congratulate you upon the progress that you're making, and I am confident that the progress in the years ahead will be even greater. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Stan, for such splendid address and those timely remarks. I'll assure you that we're looking forward to the day that we'll have 100% affiliation in the organization. We sincerely hope that you can remain with us throughout the rest of the convention and participate in some of our hospitality. This time we're going to call on Sister Hazel Moses, who is the Union Label Director, is it Hazel? Union Label Director, is that your official title? The Amalgamated Clothing Workers of America, who will discuss with you that organization's union label program, and it's my understanding that she's probably going to give something away, maybe a shirt or something like that here. I'm not positive what it's going to be, but we're going to pull something out. I've been at for a long time, Hazel Moses.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. and brothers and sisters in the trade movement. Well, I'm not going to be like my friend Stanton Smith and steal anyone's speech for the simple reason I never make a speech. I just have a few words to say and that's it. But I will say this. After being with you people down here many, many times, and for the past 12 years, running all over the South, preaching union label, union service card, and union button, and I mean all of them, not just one of them, I could honestly cry when I see delegates come into not only this convention, but any other convention with non-union clothing on. I wonder if you do realize, have you ever thought about it, that every time you spend your union-made dollars for non-union products and non-union services, that you are helping to build and maintain the very people who are seeking to destroy us? On the other hand, every time you spend that union-made dollar for union-made products and union services, you are not only helping yourself, but helping the entire trade movement and the world. When are we going to wake up? When are we going to start sticking together? If there ever was a time, it's now. Because with the powerful industrial people, owners, and their hired hands backing up anti-legislation, they are taking away the gains that we already have. And they certainly will stop the gains that we are reaching for. We must do something. We must stick together. It's not only your right to buy and to use union products and union services. It's your duty. It's your duty as trade members to do this thing. There's one thing for sure. No legislation, nobody can take your right away to buy. You spend your dollars the way you want to spend them. When you go to purchase anything, are you ashamed to ask if it's union made? Are you ashamed to ask if it has a label? In other words, I'm asking you, are you true union members to help each other? I wonder how many here smoke Camel cigarettes, Winston cigarettes. As Joe Jacobs says, they'll sure give you cancer because they're scared. If any of you here sleep in Weldon pajamas, you have nightmares, that's for sure. And if any of you wear Sewell suits, I feel like tearing them off of you. I feel like I'm coming home when I come to Mississippi. I've worked down in here so much. I have so many friends here. And I appreciate the invitation and the time that you've given me. And I've had a heck of a good time. I gave away the suit at the dance last night. We thought maybe that'd be a sort of a drawing card so we could get some more and get back and dance some more tonight. But today we will give away a box of shirts. There'll be 3 white dress shirts. They will be mailed out to whoever wins them. And when I get through, will you meet me in the back where my display is so I can get your size and so forth and so on. Again, I thank you, delegates, the State Council, the officers.
The remarks. We might ought to check this convention out on this sewer thing, you think? I'd like to see you jerk a suit off of one of these delegates. I don't think we'll find one in this group. This time it gives me a great deal of pleasure to present to you the Director of the Union Label Department of the Lady Garment Workers Union, Jerry Levine. Jerry?
Mr. President, delegates and guests, I want to bring you the very warmest fraternal greetings from our union, the International Ladies Garment Workers Union, and our wishes for a very, very successful convention. I also want to express the regrets of my regional director for his absence here. It was unavoidable. He had to go to New York for a conference with the president of the union. This being a substitute speaker reminds me of a little story which I'd like to tell you about a minister. Thank you. In fact, it was told by a minister about one of his fledgling aspiring ministers. He was getting ready to retire, and this other minister was going to take his place. And he was a wonderful orator. He held the congregation spellbound every Sunday. And this fledgling minister was a little nervous. He was a little afraid to get up there and make the sermon. And he asked the old man, he said, "Well, how do you do it? What's your secret?" And so he said, "Well, you see that pitcher of water that you saw Stanton Smith drinking a little while ago?" He says, "That's not really water." He says, "That's martinis." He says, "You try it when you get up there next Sunday." Well, the fledgling minister made the sermon the following Sunday, and the old minister sat out in the congregation and listened intently. And after it was over, came back, and he says, "Well, how did I do?" The old man says, "Well," he says, "you did fine, except for three things." He says, "First of all, martinis are to be sipped, not gulped. Secondly, you don't take the toothpick out and wave it at the congregation to make your point. And the third thing, the story goes that David slew Goliath. He didn't stomp hell out of him." I'm very, very happy to be here, very grateful for the time that I'm allowed to speak to you today. To get a little more serious, I heard one of the speakers this morning say that he wanted to learn more about the problems that Mississippi has. I'd like to talk about some of the problems that we've had here in Mississippi and elsewhere throughout the South. Some 3 years ago, in San Antonio, Texas, our people at a plant called Texon, which makes children's clothes, were forced to go out on strike. I say they were forced to go out on strike because what the firm was doing was contracting the work out away from that home factory so that our people, our union members, were working short weeks, 2 days and 3 days a week. And you know that you can't support a family when you only work 2 or 3 days a week. And so they were forced to go out on strike. And one of the places where this work was sent during the strike was to a little town in Mississippi called Milam. And our people went to Milam, Mississippi and picketed the factory. And they lasted there 1 day because immediately, the judge granted the company an injunction preventing all picketing. Our legal staff argued that this judge had no right to grant such an injunction, that this was a labor dispute. And the Federal National Labor Relations Board took precedent, and the state court had no right in this matter. And the judge, without really saying so, acted as if he meant, well, we don't like the federal government telling us what to do down here anyhow, and I'm just going to exercise jurisdiction whether I've got it or not. And he did. He says, I'll consider the case. For 8 months, there was a temporary injunction in force. 8 months. It was just temporary while he just considered whether he had jurisdiction to give such an injunction. After 8 months, he says, yes, I've thought about it. I've got jurisdiction. This injunction stands. Some 18 months later, the Mississippi Supreme Court upheld this judge. And they said, yes, we agree with you. Our good people in Mississippi and Milam had no labor dispute. There wasn't any labor dispute there. This was a foreign thing out in Texas somewhere. And after 2 years, the United States Supreme Court finally told them, you don't have jurisdiction. But what happens to a strike when you're prevented from picketing for more than 2 years? We didn't win that strike. I bring this up because today we're involved again in another nationwide strike against a firm called Judy Bond. They make blouses. Maybe they learned a little bit from this Texan outfit and thought they could do the same thing. But we had a contract with Judy Bond for more than 20 years. And suddenly, without warning, they closed down their shops in Pennsylvania, in New York, and came south. They came to Alabama. They started contracting work out in South Carolina. And they may have some in Mississippi. We haven't found it yet. When we do, we'll know what to do there too. Because now the law is clear. The Supreme Court has told the judges that they don't have jurisdiction, that we do have a right to picket. And in South Carolina, for instance, when we did picket and an injunction was granted against us, the injunction only stood up for 2 weeks before that judge decided that he didn't have jurisdiction. That was really a temporary injunction, not a permanent one. Our campaign includes many phases. Not only are we tracking down any factory which may make Judy Bond blouses, but we're appealing to you as labor people, as union people, not to buy Judy Bond blouses wherever it may be sold. Now, how can you tell a Judy Bond blouse? Aside from the name and the blouse that says Judy Bond, no matter how close you look, it won't have a union label. And if it doesn't have a union label, you know you don't want to buy it. And this is one strike that we intend to win. There isn't anything that's going to defeat us, not now, not ever. And it's not just the determination of myself or of the officers of my union that make this meaningful, but the determination of the union members throughout the nation. For instance, I want to tell you about some of our girls from Mississippi. They came on out to New Orleans when they found that the D.H. Holmes store over there was selling Judy Bond blouses. And we asked that store to cooperate with us. They didn't tell us to go fly a kite, but they might just as well have. Our girls went down there and they started leafleting, giving out those leaflets which you've gotten today, asking public not to buy Judy Bond blouses. They weren't out there very long before the police came, told them they were violating some silly city ordinance. Carted the girls off to the jailhouse. Our representative over there was busy at another store. When she came back, she found these girls gone, and she was told they were out in the jailhouse. She went back to the other store, and those girls had been gone, and this went on all day as the police just kept carting them off. Those girls, after that day was over, although they were a little upset, they were a little frightened at the treatment that they had received because they knew that they hadn't broken any laws, and yet they were treated like criminals. They determined right then and there that they were going to go back to New Orleans and they were going to leaflet come hell or high water. And they did, and they were successful. And they had the cooperation of the people over there. And I want to introduce some of those girls to you now. Some of them you've seen out here wearing union label dresses. I want to introduce Audrey Brazell of Local 448 in Purvis. And Donna Smith of Local 507 in Poplarville. and Marguerite Brooks of Local 594 Magnolia. Girls, will you come on up here? You know, they were giving everybody a little gift today as they came in, and they've got a little gift to President Claude Ramsey to express their appreciation for the cooperation they've received here in Mississippi. Stand up. They're not getting forward. You want to show it to them? Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Thank you, Jerry. And I certainly appreciate the apron. I should have had it a little earlier. Maybe I could have kept some of the blood off. This is a real nice apron. I'm going to have to find out now what it's supposed to be used for. Will somebody tell me? Yeah, I know my wife will appreciate that very much. Now we have a drawing. Both groups, I understand, will have some things that they'd like to give away, one that they have here with them. And I believe he told me he's going to let me pull the name out of the box. He wanted him to get mad at me, not him, I understand. Who's going to be first, Jerry? You want to get that first? You're going to force this?
This is the 3 shirts, union-made shirts, and as you know, the union label is stamped on the tail of the shirts. So always look for it, and please tell your wives, you fellas. I'm going to ask Mr. Ramsey to please shut his eyes so he won't cheat and grab one of these.
C.E. Schaefer.
C.E. Schaefer. Thank you again.
Got one man on my side of the way.
We're going to give away 3 dresses, and will the winners please meet me out and back after we're through over here so I can get the size and make sure the address is correct and make it the address. Amy Hollowell, Route 1, Water Valley. Well, this looks like a fix. Audrey Brazil with the ILG.
She gives me an apron and I get her a dress. That's right.
Merle Deers or Davis? Davis. Thank you very much, Brad.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank both of you. Hazel, you going to give another suit away at the dance tonight, you say? Oh, you're not going to give one away tonight? Well, I thought you brought your suitcase with you. I didn't know. Yeah. At this time, I'd like to call on the chairman of the Union Label and Service Committee to give that committee's report, Brother W.A. Stevens. Brother Stevens?
Thank you, Mr. President. After reviewing this little demonstration of affection here, the question, I believe, was raised, what was Claude going to do with the new apron? And I believe I heard the remark that he might use that in washing his wife's dishes.
Well, after the little demonstration, I don't know, he may not be washing dishes for his wife, it may be for himself. So I think there are enough witnesses in the crowd to verify that statement, so Claude, get on the good side with these people. At this time, I would like to present the resolution number 15 to this group, and I'm not sure that all of you have copies of the resolution on the tables before you. If not, why, say so.
Have it and distribute it.
Will the sergeant group get the resolutions out, please? While this group is presenting the resolutions to you, I would just like to make a remark or two in regard to this label effort by our two garment groups here. I would like to say that to me, the union label doesn't altogether mean just the clothing group. That means any person that performs any kind of union service or any kind of work, which would I refer to any of the craft unions. They all have service cards and buttons, and I think that if you have any work to be done outside of your clothing business, that whenever you call for work for a serviceman or work contractor of any kind to do a job for you, I think you could ask that a union man be sent to do the job for you. And when you're buying materials, building supplies and what have you, there's some especially light fixtures and hardware items, I think there are union labels there, then you can always look for that. The thing we want to do is try to promote this label in every way that we possibly can. Does everyone have a copy of the resolution now? I'm sure they...
The Sergeant at Arms, please see if he can hunt up the resolution number 15 and distribute it amongst the delegates, number 15. The resolution is short. It's not too long. I would suggest that the chairman read this resolution, and after they get out with it, they can pass it out. It's not too long. Is that okay? Go ahead and read it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Bob. The resolution is submitted by the Executive Board. The committee has considered this resolution. We find the resolution timely and in order, and we are in accord with the resolution as it is written. I will read it as follows. Whereas the attacks against organized labor are continuing and in fact are increasing, and whereas the weapon available to the organized labor movement have been curtailed by law, and whereas the union label, shop card, and the service button are the established symbols of the products and services of organized labor, and whereas the purchasing power of union workers properly directed can be one of the most effective weapons available to organized labor. Therefore be it resolved that we continue to make use of this powerful weapon by asking to see the union label, shop card, and service button before making any purchases. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be sent to every affiliated local union. Mr. Chairman, the committee moves the adoption of the resolution.
You've heard the committee's report, and the motion is to adopt the resolution. We had a second, I believe. We having a discussion on the resolution, on the motion to adopt? Not all in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. All opposed? Motion carried and so ordered. Now we are going to try to wind the business of the day up in just a few minutes. We have a few announcements, a few things that we think you need to hear before you leave. And before I make the committee assignment on the election, I'm going to... Brother Knight's got an announcement that he thinks you'll be very much interested in view of some of the remarks that's gone on by several of the distinguished speakers today. There's something happened I didn't know about, and I'm satisfied none of you heard it yet because you've been in the convention. Brother Knight?
Thank you, Mr. President. First, before I make the announcement that I had in mind, I would like to express my heartfelt appreciation for your confidence again shown in me. Certainly I will go to no limit to do the job as best I know how. You know, here yesterday, you heard quite a bit about the situation that exists in Mississippi, the present administration, the things that are going on. Now, some few people may know about this. If you already know about it, why just overlook this statement. Felt like you might be interested in this announcement. I found it out right after lunch here. If you'll remember, a few days ago, the superintendent of the state penitentiary, Mr. Fred Jones, told some things that had been going on that hadn't previously been told. Well, just after noon, the press release came out. He has been fired as the superintendent of the penitentiary at Parchment. I think this points further to what we've said and to what you know has been going on here in Mississippi. The man knows a lot more, and I think they're determined to try to keep him from telling that, if they can. But I don't think they'll be able to keep him from telling it. But I've got this rumor just after you came back in from lunch, and of course I've done a little investigating to see if this was really true, and I found out it was true. Fred Jones has been relieved of his duties as superintendent of the penitentiary at Parchment. Thank you.
I'll tell you one thing, that something needs to be said here in regards to Mr. Fred Jones and the part he played in the election of the present governor. I don't know how many of you know this, but this is the same Fred Jones that wrote some of the most vicious editorials that I've ever read during this campaign against the labor movement. Ross Barnett was elected running on a platform anti-union. Fred Jones was the man that penned most of that propaganda that was peddled all over the state. I just thought I'd mention that to you. Now, it's real interesting to see that the people responsible for putting this, well, words can't describe it, figure that sits in our governor's chair in office. It's interesting to see now how right we were, how right the labor movement was in our analysis of that situation when we recommended to our people that they support Carol Garton for governor. It's interesting to note here today that we were right more than we even knew as to what our recommendations were at that convention. Now, we will have the election of officers tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, the election for members of the board at 10, in view of the fact that the Constitution was changed to that effect. We will have the ballots prepared. We'll get a couple of adding machines to handle the job with and try to expedite the counting of those ballots as rapidly as possible. In order to conduct that election, it's necessary to appoint an election committee. And I've got a few names listed here if there's anyone who would like to serve on it, because we've got limitations on the number that can from the various groups. I'd be glad to consider you. J.B. Broadus, is he here? J.B. here? I want to make sure these people now will be here and be in a position to conduct this thing, because it'll take a couple of hours. What'd you say? We'll be here at 10 o'clock in the morning. Well, would you notify him that he's been appointed to chair this election committee? Vance Hatton. Vance, you be here. M.E. Ferguson. Red. In the back. Evelyn Voss. Brother Sossaman, you're the rubber workers. What's your first name? What? Robert Sossaman. Now I want two ladies that can handle an adding machine. Do we have two volunteers here that can use adding machine, that would like to volunteer to assist this committee? I know I can always, Doris Kelly is running the thing, I can't put her on there. How many, don't we have a couple of girls here, the CWA girls, or some of you girls here that can use an adding machine? Any of you here, can any of you use an adding machine? Yes? Oh, yes. Man, I'm looking right out yonder. Here it is right up here. All right, you're on one committee, but that's all right. You'll be glad to serve. Fine. Now we have another one? Oh, I was looking for you all the time. Why didn't you stand up and let me see it? That's Joanne Hughes, right? Mm-hmm. All right. All right, that'll take care of that, and we will, of course, in addition to this, the chairman of the Credentials Committee will also assist in this election with the committee. There's a number of votes and so forth allowed by each delegate. Now, this election will begin promptly at 10. We hope to further, we'll have considerable business to take care of tomorrow, it being the last day. We're going to have to move a little bit faster than we've been moving. We've had to revise our program in view of the change and the election. The speakers that have been listed on the Wednesday morning program will appear Wednesday afternoon instead. I'll call those out to you so you will know where we will be tomorrow.